All right, let's talk about something that's coming at us fast. A future where artificial general intelligence, AGI, can do pretty much any job a person can. So, what happens to our economy, our jobs, and, well, the whole idea of work when that day gets here? Let's dive in. So let's kick things off with this really powerful idea from our source material. For a business switching to mass automation, it's not really a choice, you know? When a machine is better, faster, and cheaper than a human, the logic is just undeniable. It's a mathematical certainty. So, what exactly is AGI? We're not talking about the kind of AI we have today that can only do one thing well. We're talking about a true artificial, general intelligence, one with the same kind of flexible, creative, problem-solving smarts as a human. And that, well, that changes absolutely everything. And I mean, the potential upside here is just staggering. Imagine a world where we can solve huge production challenges with incredible efficiency. A world of abundance where the cost of almost everything just plummets. This isn't a small step up. It's a complete revolution in how we make things. But here's the thing. There's a catch. This amazing efficiency could actually break the entire economic model we've relied on for centuries. What happens to all of us when the economy just doesn't need people to grow anymore? Well, there's a term for this that economists use, the Great Decoupling. It's a trend we're already starting to see, where technology gets rid of jobs faster than it can create new ones. And as you can see here, company profits and productivity can shoot through the roof, while wages and jobs for actual people just flatline, or worse, fall. And this is the part you really have to wrap your head around. The mass displacement of human workers isn't some unfortunate side effect of AGI. It is the engine of the productivity boom. Those incredible efficiency gains come from replacing expensive, kind of slow humans with cheap, super fast automation. It's the whole point. So this all builds up to a massive central paradox. It's what our sources call a potential fatal flaw in our economic system when you introduce total automation, a contradiction that could bring the whole thing crashing down. It's called the economic agency paradox. And when you boil it down, it's pretty simple. We're building a world that's unbelievably good at making stuff. But in doing that, we're getting rid of the main way people get money, their wages. And if nobody has money, who's going to buy all that super efficiently made stuff? Okay, so how does this whole thing spiral out of control in the real world? Well, it starts with a simple, perfectly logical decision that businesses are already making every single day. Automate to cut costs and get an edge. But see, when every company makes that same rational choice, the combined effect is that wages as a concept just start to disappear. The main pipeline that pushes money and purchasing power out to everybody in the economy, it just starts to dry up. And without wages, nobody has any money to spend. So consumer demand, the absolute lifeblood of a market economy, just evaporates. Suddenly you have all these hyper-efficient automated factories with nobody to sell their products to. And this slide just perfectly illustrates the end game. It's a death spiral, where a bunch of logical, individual choices add up to a complete and total system failure. One source puts it bluntly, it's macroeconomic suicide. Okay, that sounds pretty grim, right? So if that's the problem, how do we fix it? How do we design a world where everyone can still thrive even if they don't have a traditional job? Well, our sources point to three really interesting potential futures. So path number one is all about creating a new kind of safety net. It's called Universal Basic Income, or UBI. The idea is really simple. You've decoupled survival from having a job. By giving everyone a regular, unconditional income floor, you put that purchasing power that was lost from wages right back into the economy. And listen, this isn't some science fiction idea. It's happening right now. As this slide shows, UBI is being tested and debated all over the world. We're talking large-scale pilots in places like Catalonia, programs giving guaranteed income to parents in Santa Fe, and even big proposals in New York. People are actively trying to figure this out. All right, path number two takes a totally different approach. It reimagines the role of the government not just as a safety net provider, but as an actual owner. The idea is for the state to take a direct financial stake in this new automated economy through something called a sovereign wealth fund. Now, what's so cool about this slide is how it lays out a really clear strategy. It's a lead, own, share framework. First, the nation would lead by investing in the critical stuff like computer chips and energy. Then it would own a piece of the big AI companies building the future. And finally, it would share the profits from those investments with every citizen, maybe as a universal basic dividend. Okay, the third option. This one is probably the most revolutionary redesign of our economy you can imagine. What if we just moved beyond the whole idea of working for a living? What if instead every single one of us became an investor in our automated future? And this is how it could work. First, you tokenize everything of value, turning things like businesses or even art into digital tokens that are easy to trade. Step 2, UBI gives everyone the starting cash to begin investing. Then your own personal AI helps you manage your investments, making smart choices for you. And finally, the whole thing runs on a super secure, transparent network like a blockchain. The big idea is that you'd earn your living from the returns on your investments, not from your labor. So, the main thing to take away from all this is that we are standing at a huge crossroads. We have a fundamental society-level choice to make about the kind of economy we want to build for this post-labor world. And the consensus across all our sources seems to be that the end of work as we know it, it's not something we have to be afraid of. It doesn't have to be a disaster. In fact, you could argue it's what humanity has been working towards for centuries, a world finally free from constant toil. This isn't a future that just happens to us. It's a future we get to build. The technology's coming, that's for sure, but the society we wrap around that technology, that's entirely up to us. The challenge isn't about stopping automation, it's about designing an economy that works for everyone. So really, the only question left is, what will we choose?